This is the beginning of the videotape of the 9-mile stretch of the Stanislaus River between the Parrott's Ferry Bridge that you see in front of you and the Camp 9 area, which is the proposed upper level of the New Melones Reservoir. It's Tuesday, December 18th, 10:30 a.m., and the river is running somewhere between 500 and 1,000 CFS. The roaded and cleared area to your right is the construction area used in building the new Parrott's Ferry Bridge. The road cut in front of you is the old Parrott's Ferry Road, which runs north to Angels Camp and south to the Columbia State Park. The island in the middle of the river is a highly populated area in June, July, and August, and over any given weekend in the summer, some 2,000 to 3,000 people will end up visiting the Parrott's Ferry area. This area is known as Dead Man's Bar, running up to Walker's Bar, where the original Parrott's Ferry operated between 1860 and 1897. This cleared area is used as a parking lot in high use part of the year. Vegetation in this area is mostly digger pine and oak, some willows and alders on the stream side. Very popular area for swimming, hiking, fishing. Coming into view is the older Parrott's Ferry Bridge, which was completed in 1938 and was used until the new bridge was completed in early '79. The original bridge, which crossed at approximately this area right here, was completed in 1903 and was taken away in a flood in 1937. The people you see in the lower part of your screen are modern-day gold miners. They operate suction dredges, and it's a very popular pastime in this area of the Mother Lode, as well as on this river. This area through here is the major takeout area for rafters. 13 commercial operators on the river, run under a permit issued by the Bureau of Land Management, and a great deal of private boating occurs on this river. The Bureau of Land Management also manages and maintains the campground, which is on your right, river left. And there are many fine camping areas, day use areas in this whole section of the river, upstream of the Parrott's Ferry Bridge and just downstream of the bridge. Elevation here is roughly 808. On either side of this bridge are trails which run up the river and have been closed to vehicle traffic. The trails run up to very popular swimming beaches. And a recent interesting development on the river has been the interest in commercial photography. A number of national ads as well as feature-length films for theaters and for television have been shot in this area right through here. The Republic Mine and the Duchess Mine are in this general vicinity. Operated in the late 1800s and ran into early 1900s, closing somewhere in the 30s. Very good swimming on either side of the river in this area. Coming up on a rapid now known as Chicken Falls. It's the last major rapid in high water on the 9-mile stretch. Again, this area now is only accessible by foot. We're coming up to an area now that shows evidence of Indian occupation. The outcropping on your left, river right, has a very nice bedrock mortar site on it, as well as a number of rock shelters. This area also is very highly prized as a swimming area by the locals as well as tourists in the area. The beach on your right is very popular. On a high use day in the middle of the summer, you might have 15 or 20 bathers on that beach. This is pretty much the upper end of the foot trail. Most of the traffic on the river now is coming from Camp 9 or from other trails down to the river, other than the Parrott's Ferry Road. Isolated beaches every now and again on the river. And a little showing of the fall colors, which are still evident in December. The rapid right in front of you is called Chinese Dogleg. Makes a hard left turn and a hard right turn. You can see willow and alder on the left. It's a very popular rapid. This is really a very pretty part of the river and quite tranquil. You can see often great blue herons, kingfisher, mergansers, quite a lot of wildlife. This is another area with a great deal of bedrock mortar sites on both sides of the river. Indians in this area were the Central Miwok, and it's estimated that possibly 300 individuals lived in the area of Parrott's Ferry and Malonis. Evidence of their occupation is all up and down the river. The rapid just ahead is called Wino Swim, which is very popular with the rafters. They exit their rafts at the top of the rapid and swim the rapid. It's a fairly safe rapid to swim. At higher water, it has very few exposed rocks in it. This area again was mined in the 30s, and you can see some evidence of it around. More recently, it's been very heavily suction dredged, and reportedly they did very well in it. You can just barely see a trail on your right-hand side. That has vehicle access to right about that point, and then not beyond it. Very, very deep pools here in this area. The rapid just in front of you is called Sierra Club Rapid. The river makes a sharp bend to the right. And this is the area of Wolf Gulch. Wolf Gulch comes in on your right. This area is accessible from the Marble Quarry Road, which comes down off the Parrott's Ferry Road towards Columbia State Park. At just about this point, the area has been signed that no vehicles can proceed downstream. This area to the right, Wolf Gulch, is very, very beautiful in the springtime. It has a very nice display of redbud. This is also the site of Abbey's Ferry, which predates Parrott's Ferry by a couple of years. It was constructed in the early 1850s and was the only direct route between Columbia and Vallecito. There was a dwelling, saloon, and a stable associated with the ferry, and you can still see the foundations, and the ringbolt which the ferry was attached is still visible. There's also a cave on the right-hand side, river left, which Joaquin Murrieta, an infamous California bandit, was supposed to have observed the ferry and before robbing it. He supposedly signaled his cohorts in the cliff directly in front of you, which is a 800-foot high limestone cliff. Another interesting story about Abbey's Ferry is one that was reported in the New York Times. Was early in the summer of 1860, two elephants named Victoria and Albert were on tour in the Mother Lode. Victoria supposedly fell off the ferry and was swept through Sierra Club Rapids. She was able to reach shore and was taken toward Vallecito, but died somewhere on the road from injuries suffered on those rocks. And Albert continued the tour. Just on your left is a incense cedar, which normally is living at a much higher elevation, but is brought down in the waters of the Stanislaus. And quite a few incense cedar are on this stretch right through here. The Marble Quarry is river left on your right and is pretty much directly above this section of the river. Very nice river camp is on the right-hand side of the river in this picture. It is often used by commercial companies. This whole limestone cliff face here is just dotted with caves. How far they go in is not known in some cases, and how shallow they are. It's very sheer face. The white rock on your right is the marble from the marble quarry. Every once in a while they have a spill, or in the past they'd had spills that came down into the river. Just coming up on your right is another very nice camping area, often used by rafters. These are the limestone cliffs, dotted with caves. In the springtime, this is covered with ferns and monkey flower and springs cascading over the rocks. Very, very pretty. Very, very deep holes through here, too. It's also known as Shark's Mouth. There's a ponderosa pine we're just passing on the left. This stretch of the river in particular is a very real wilderness setting. Other than your fellow rafters you might see, depending on what time of the year you're there, you're completely out of the sight of man and any sound of man. The only thing you might see is a passing airplane. What we're approaching now is going to be South Fork. Around 1849, a tent city was established about 2 miles up the South Fork at a place called Pine Log Crossing. The name derived from 2 pine logs were used as a bridge. About 1849, there were approximately 1,500 inhabitants, mostly Sonorans. And the site was apparently active until approximately 1880. The elevation here is roughly 885, reference point for the elevation of the proposed reservoir. Parrott's Ferry is 808, this is 885. Confluence of the South Fork and the main fork right there in front of you. Small rapid. Up the South Fork is what's known as cave country. A great deal of caves are located in this section of the river. One very popular cave is McLean's Cave. Very popular with the Spelunking Society as well as a rafting public. Several Chinese trees of paradise are on the left-hand side of the river through here, as well as a number of willows and alders through here. Quite a few people elect to take trips on midnight runs, they call them, run through here by the moonlight. And in this particular section of the river, late in the evening, you can sometimes see beaver and often hear their tails slap the water. On the right-hand side of the river is also a huge fig tree, which is probably over 100 years old. And at the right time of the year, and when the wind's blowing right, it's so fragrant that you can smell it long before you can ever see it. Through this section of the river, if you keep a sharp eye out on river trips, especially this time of year, you can often see a deer or two along the river. This gives you a chance to get out of the tunnel vision we're sometimes forced to show on the videotapes, but the surrounding scenery is really outstanding. It's one thing characteristic of the Stanislaus, when you're going through the rapids, which are very exciting, you're also coming to these very large, tranquil pools, and it really gives you an opportunity to look around you and reflect on the scenery. We're coming into a stretch of the river that has most of the campsites, and they're very large beaches, fields with, in the springtime especially, really nice flower display. A lot of baby blue eyes and lupins and all sorts of flowers all through the springtime and early summer. The rapid directly ahead is known as Cop Rock, and reportedly got its name when a few law enforcement people kind of commandeered their raft away from their boatman, who they thought possibly incompetent, and they stranded themselves on that rock and hence got the name Cop Rock. Coming into an area known as Chinese Camp, on the left is a trail which runs up to Coral Cave, which is very accessible. It's got a number of very decorated rooms with speleothems. You can get in it without too much danger of getting lost or hurt with just a couple of flashlights. Directly ahead of us, in that open area on the far side of the river, is Duck Bar. This area was mined from the late 1800s into the early 1900s, and it has a maze of glory holes and ditches and flumes, many of which are lined with rock walls, which are evidence of Chinese labor. I believe we can see a hiker down the lower left-hand side of the screen on the opposite side of the river. This area is also accessible by a jeep, although it is a pretty rough road. Mariana Gulch comes in through here at Duck Bar, and at the top of the hill on the left-hand side is a limestone area with a number of caves in it also. Elevation here is roughly 900. Duck Bar also has a huge fig tree on it. Many think it to be one of the largest in the world, and it too is probably over 100 years old. Just to our right is another rock wall facing Duck Bar, and it has what appears to be an abandoned golden eagle's nest on the face. It's still visible. Right in front of us is a pipeline rapid. It got its name from some of the old mining material which was still evident, and it was a hazard in navigation. There was a pipe in the water which had been known to trap rafters and kayakers in it, so it was removed. That rapid actually was formed by a rock dam which diverted water for the mining activities there at Duck Bar and farther downstream. This island, as well as many of the ones we've already seen, are completely covered when high water comes, and the water really rushes through here. This stretch of the river is an excellent example of streamside woodland. Along the banks of the river here are incense cedars, yellow pines, big leaf maples, willows, white alders, Oregon ash, live oak, digger pines, and California buckeye, and of course the fig tree I mentioned at Duck Bar earlier. Right ahead of you can see Table Mountain, which is an old riverbed which was filled with lava, and everything else eroded away and left the tabletop mountain. Get a kind of a vague notion of the panorama by looking at the reflection in the water. Directly ahead of us, that beach area is called Razorback. Razorback Rapid is just around the corner, and there's a very nice beach just to our left called Lower Razorback, and just above it you can just see the tip of it is Upper Razorback Camp, which is easily accessible to handicapped people, and they use it because they can get wheelchairs up it. This river is very popular with handicap because of its accessibility and fairly forgiving nature of the river, in that you can run a rapid and have time to recover in one of the pools afterwards. Right below us is the lower stretch of Razorback. It was formed by large chunks of marble falling from the cliff into the river. And directly ahead of us right now is Razorback Rock itself, very sharp and known to tear out a few bottoms of the boats. And it's unfortunate we couldn't see it in this particular film strip, but the Hanging Garden Spring is right above Razorback Rock, and it's just covered with maidenhair ferns, and it's really beautiful. Coming in on your left is Grapevine Gulch. Nearby here are groups of Miwok mortar holes again. And running downstream towards us is the remains of a trail built and maintained by prospectors on either side of the river here. I've personally seen some trophy-sized trout pulled out of this river in this particular area right here. This rapid right here is sometimes known as Horn Rapid. You have to shoot your raft or kayak through two rocks which look quite a bit like horns sticking up. Really a very pretty stretch of the river through here. I don't mean to overemphasize the fact that there's many campsites along here, but it is really nice to be floating a river and be able to stop at a number of spots to camp or relax or have lunch. Really some spectacular scenery through here right above Mother Rapid. Just to the left of Mother Rapid, left of the screen is Wool Hollow, comes in there, and much of Mother Rapid was caused by rock debris coming in from Wool Hollow. It's a pretty exciting rapid. You can see the rocks that the water is rushing against right there, which you try to avoid in your raft. We are right below a cataract quarry on the Calavera side of the river, which has blasting periodically, and there was a sign just coming up on your left warning of the blasting which may occur. There's a marble talus just on your left there, which was caused by a blast in 1973 from the cataract quarry. Marble cliffs rise almost 1,000 feet above the river on the left-hand side. Really some outstanding scenery in this area. Not visible in this picture, of course, but there's a stand of bracken fern growing on the left side of the river left anyway. The Miwok Indians use this for food, the young fronds of the fern, wove baskets and cloth from the rootstock, and early white settlers thatched their summer shelters with the fronds too. This flat area on the right side of the screen was a site of a great deal of mining activity, and is currently one of the prime camping sites for the rafting people. There was a flume which ran down from Rose Creek, which we'll see in a couple of minutes, supplied water for the mining activity in the late 1800s. Well, you'd never know it by looking at the river here on a December afternoon, but this is a heavily used river. In 1979, the Bureau of Land Management recorded nearly 33,000, a little over 33,000 bodies on this river. 19,000 some odd were commercial passengers, and another nearly 15,000 private people, private boaters not associated with a commercial raft trip. The campsites along the edge of the rivers are holding up remarkably well. Again, you would hardly know that anybody was on the river, let alone that many people. That particular rapid is Lower Rose Creek Rapid. Coming in on the left is Cataract Gulch, and the sun shining on the top of the picture is the sun shining through from Rose Creek. Rose Creek enters from your right and from the river's left. Elevation here, as we're approaching Rose Creek, is roughly 968 feet. We'll be approaching the major rapids in the area. Rose Creek area is very significant geologically. Number of classrooms are held here in the field to observe the Calaveras Formation. It's very evident in this area. In the summertime, this is a very popular area. We'll have, in the neighborhood of 20 rafts sometimes, 15-foot rafts parked here, sometimes more. They stop here for swimming. The main fork of the Stanislaus is often too cold for many of the people that come down the river. And hiking up Rose Creek, you'll get into some very agreeably temperatured pools. As you can see, some of the pools now seem to be somewhat stagnant, but from the scoured look of the bed, you can see that it's can flow pretty well through here. The tank in the lower right-hand corner of the screen is a holding tank. Bureau of Land Management has installed a porta potty in the area due to the high activity in the area and people stopping here for a long time. BLM River Rangers service the area, service the toilets. The holding tank is helicoptered out when need be. We just went over a rapid known as Six Pack. It's a rapid that those people on the boat wager or are said to wager a six-pack of their favorite beverage on whether or not the rapid can be negotiated without touching any rocks. There's another sign informing people of possible blasting from the cataract quarry. Looking downstream again now. Rose Creek would be coming in on the left. There it is with the sun shining through. Just to our right now, looking downstream and facing into Rose Creek, is just a spectacular display of California poppies, and all up and down the Rose Creek Canyon up to Knights Creek is just a terrific display of wildflowers in the early spring. You've got your early bloomers, mid bloomers, and late bloomers into the early summer. And from week to week, you'll hike up there and see wildflowers you didn't see the week before, and consequently ones you did see earlier and won't see again till the next spring. This area through here has some really interesting formations, rock formations. Water in here again is running less than 1,000 cubic feet per second, but in recent years has been as high as 12,000 cubic feet per second. And of course over the years has been considerably higher than that without any dams upstream, but it has folded and molded and sculpted these rocks into some spectacular formations. We're looking now at Widowmaker. We'll won't speculate on how this rapid got its name, but it's certainly one of the major rapids, and the large rock right in the middle of the river there is Widowmaker Rock, which is one you want to try and avoid. Rock isn't visible at high water, and it really has a huge hole behind it. We're looking upstream now at Bailey Falls. Has the reputation of being the most difficult rapid to negotiate on the river. This river is rated on a scale of 1 to 6, the international scale of whitewater. is rated 3 to 4, but certainly at higher water it can be rated much higher. Water rushes in here to the right-hand wall and then bounces off of it and runs left. Quite a little drop, which has caused more than a few boats to turn over. A lot of willows along this section of the river. In this section of the river is another stand of yellow pine, which occupies one of the many niches that simulate climates found at higher elevations, allowing yellow pines and related plants to exist where they ordinarily wouldn't. Coming into view now on the upper end of the screen there is the new Camp 9 bridge, which again was completed in early 1979 in anticipation of a higher water level from the reservoir. Coming into view also on the right-hand side of your screen very shortly will be a geologic formation, a dike of intrusive material which looks remarkably like a staircase. And one of the rapids right around it is appropriately named Devil's Staircase. You'll see it very shortly. There it is on the right side of your screen. It's been weathered in such a way that it looks remarkably like a staircase. And just above that, you can see the white there is the rapid known as Devil's Staircase. Quite a ride. I can guarantee you that one's quite a ride. Just on the river right, on your left, you can see another granitic dike coming in on the left side of the screen. Coming into view now, just ahead of you is a large rock in the middle of the river. That's known as Death Rock and Death Rock Rapid. It's a pretty exciting ride through there. It's a very technical run. You've got to know how to maneuver your boat to get through it safely. Certainly a rapid at higher water is very dangerous. This is the approach to Death Rock Rapid. Pretty technical little run of whitewater. And looking upstream again, we can see the old suspension bridge crossing the river right at Suspension Bridge Rapid, just below the new Camp 9 bridge. That suspension bridge is blocked on both ends. It's a pretty hazardous looking bridge. The road cut just to your left, left-hand side of the screen was made for the construction crew building the new Camp 9 bridge. And below us is the rapid. That road cut is the Camp 9 road. It's been recut in a number of areas to make it more passable for large vehicles that were used in the construction. But it's really the first time that you can see the road from the river. Just a little bit beyond the new Camp 9 bridge going downstream, back the opposite way, you lose sight of that road entirely very shortly. Again, bear in mind the time of the year, much of this streamside vegetation has lost its leaves and is really, really green in the springtime. You can, on the opposite side of the river now, on the Tuolumne County side, you can see on your right-hand side is another road cut. That's from the new bridge going upstream and then back into the National Forest. We're approaching the rapids at the just at the lower end of Rock Garden. Rock Garden gets its name, as you might guess, from the inordinate amount of rocks you have to dodge in your raft, kayak, or inner tube, whatever you've chosen to float this river in. This particular stretch is a very good kayak run. We've had a number of events where nationally ranked kayakers have used it as a training run and also a course, competitive course. We're getting very near the put-in area here. This is the very first bit of rapids you have to run on the river. This entire 9-mile stretch of the Stanislaus River has been managed by the Bureau of Land Management. And as part of their whitewater program, they issue permits to commercial rafting companies and ask everyone, commercial people as well as the private boater, to register at the put-in, which we are approaching now on the left-hand side. Materials are provided, and they also provide a river ranger crew who monitor use on the river and provide information to the public and end up assisting those novice boaters who end up in distress on the river. During the high use season, which is generally from April through October, is the major float season, although we do get people floating the river in December and January. Outhouses are provided by the BLM here at the put-in area, as well as Rose Creek and at the takeout area at Parrott's Ferry. We're going to be rounding the corner here, and you're going to get a look at the old Camp 9 bridge, which was constructed for the Camp 9 powerhouse. And just beyond it is the after bay. All the boating on the river starts here at the put-in area, and nothing occurs beyond this after bay in the way of boating. There is a trail which goes beyond the Camp 9 powerhouse up to a place called Clark Flat and some very scenic areas just beyond the Camp 9 powerhouse. This area below the Afterbay Dam, we'll get another look at it when we turn around, has had, on a heavy use weekend in August, over 500 people a day put in to the river. And a little over half of those sometimes stay on the river, so on any given day you may have 750 or 800 people on the water. You can see the penstock from the Camp 9 powerhouse. And another look at the put-in area. This road on a Sunday in August would be very restricted traffic flow on it from buses, from the commercial outfitters and trucks and personal or private cars. But this stretch of the Stanislaus River is remarkably free from impacts, and due to the conscientious rafting public and the efforts of the Bureau of Land Management.